Hello and welcome to Relationship Soup. I'm your host, Lisa Hughes. Thank you so much for joining me today. Whether this is your first time listening or you have been a forever listener, thank you for listening to us today. Today is going to be a really, really good show. Um, I do want to give a quick disclaimer before we get started because, of course, I have another dynamic soul. But today's show may contain some explicit or distressing details, okay? That could be maybe triggering for some individuals who have experienced abuse or any trauma or sensitive situations. So, viewer discretion is advised. Now, if you find yourself feeling overwhelmed at any part of the podcast or just at all, um, really think about reaching out to a mental health professional or a trusted support system, okay? Your well being is really important to me. And it's okay to skip this podcast if you feel it's a little bit too much for you, okay? All right. And let me go ahead and tell you if you have not liked or joined the conversation, please make sure that you are subscribing to us, liking us on YouTube, and that's Relationship Soup, period, right? You got to put the period, all right? And then, of course, the group that's growing every day, it's Relationship Soup Group, all right? So, before I get into everything, thank you so much for joining me, Maurice. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. All right, so let me go ahead and tell you about our guest again, another dynamic soul. She is a business owner. Her name is Genesis Jones. She's a business owner. She's a community advocate, and she's a writer. She's really going to be sharing her personal journey and survival and triumph over domestic violence. Okay, she's going to share some raw details, her emotions, her whole story, and we both hope that you will find this episode motivational, informational, and let me go ahead and bring her on. Let me not chatter anymore. So let me go ahead and bring on this beautiful, beautiful soul inside and out. Welcome, Genesis. How are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
I'm blessed. Blessed, blessed, blessed. Okay? I'm fantastic. So thank you so much again for joining me today. I'm glad that we had the opportunity to talk and share the same sentiment when it comes to domestic violence.
You're welcome.
All right. So, can you tell our listeners a little bit about you? Now, you've been a member of Relationship Soup forever. Okay.
Yeah.
Our listeners don't know who Genesis is. Can you tell the listeners something about
Well, yes, I'm Genesis Jones. I have been in this group for a very long time. I think I came to some meet and greets maybe 2013, 2014, and it didn't spark a relationship, but I did meet a few people in person that, I remain friends with to this day on social media. And I popped in and out because usually what I do on social media is I'll take it off my phone for a while so that I don't get drawn into some of the negativity that is on there, and just to keep myself focused. So that's what I've pretty much been doing with social media, is taking breaks from it, working on myself. But I do love how there are open issues that are discussed on Relationship Soup about not just for singles, but for people that are married, dating, in relationships, coming out of relationships. And I've never seen any bullying or anyone really being mean on the post in Relationship Soup. So that's why I've remained a member all these years.
Awesome, awesome. And I like what you said about taking a break because fasting ain't just taking a break from eating and stuff. Sometimes you got to take a break from social media. You absolutely have to, just for your mental health, because it can be so overwhelming. So
Yes,
yes, I
yes.
get it. I took me a little hiatus too. I ain't gonna lie. I'm feeling like I need another hiatus. You hear me?
It's necessary.
It is. It is. It is. And it's okay. Like you can take a break. Social media gonna be there. Okay. Uh,
Yeah.
so I know that from our episode around or about 2 weeks ago, you had really chimed in with some very some good information. Um, so can I ask you what inspired you to come forward and share your story?
What inspired me to come forward and speak about it was because when I was in the midst of it all, I've always been the type of person who didn't like to ask for help, who was ashamed about asking for help, who felt like I needed to do it all on my own. I wanted to be this strong woman who didn't show her pain, who didn't show her need, who didn't show her lack. I didn't want people to know what I was going through. So at this point, I also was in a pageant in 2022, and I was just, after being around so many different women who've shared the same experiences with me, that pushed me to feel more comfortable to speak about it, because it's more common than we know. You would never know by the exterior or the picture perfect life what people are going through behind closed doors. And so that's what pushed me to want to move forward with it. And what gave me another nudge was me just being a thrifty person, stopping one day when I seen a sign for free gas. I'm being honest. I saw free gas and I said, I'm going to stop here, and found out it was domestic violence rally. And I connected with so many, well, I found out there was so many different organizations that help, and I started volunteering for domestic violence, to be a domestic violence advocate as well.
Um, so let me ask you this, right? Let's get into it. Because there are so many different signs out there. Like, I mean, sometimes they're subtle, sometimes it's not so subtle. When did you first recognize that you were in an abusive situation?
To be honest, I did not know I was in an abusive situation until he put his hands on me. Now, knowing what I know now, being more mature, having more experience, um, there's red flags that you can notice a lot sooner, which is really honestly what they call toxic behavior. Um, Being when I go back to when we were dating, because it didn't just happen in the relationship that caused me the medical issues. It happened in my marriage also. But in my marriage, I married young and I had a bad mouth. That doesn't excuse it, But I used to fight with my ex-husband, and we also had some issues with infidelity. We tried counseling, and I ended up divorcing him. But I didn't get into a better relationship after that. I felt the need to rush to try to create that family again. And the first sign, I believe, was it should have been when he came banging on my door at 3 a.m. after I didn't call him one night after Thanksgiving in 2014. And something should have said, he shouldn't be doing this. This isn't right. It made me feel uncomfortable, but I didn't want to wake the neighbors. I didn't want to wake my kids, so I just let him in. And that was really the beginning of unacceptable behavior that continued to carry on into the relationship. And then moving forward, I just thought that it was just us arguing. I thought that we were just having our differences, and because my kids, I kept things quiet. My kids didn't know, my family didn't know, and when I didn't really know that it was domestic violence until he actually hit me. So I remember the day like it was yesterday. There's been a lot of things that I've blocked out of my mind, but the day in particular, I went to Kings Island with my family. We did a family thing at Kings Island. My kids went back to my mother's house. I think I was upset that he didn't meet me at the rental place when I returned the rental. And I think I said, you're not, you ain't worth whatever. I use a cuss word. I'm not trying to be explicit on here. And I hung up and didn't answer the phone. And I got a Uber home because Uber was more popular than Lyft. And when he came into the house, because we did live together, he came into the house and he hit me. And when he hit me, I remember seeing a light flash, but I'm not the type, I wasn't in the relationship where I would just let a man beat up on me. I started fighting him and trying to call the police. He was choking me. I'm like, I want you to leave. He said, B, I'm not going anywhere. B is, the explicit word of a female dog. And police came. When the police came, he was hiding in my closet, and I told them that he had left. And they knew that, I wasn't telling the truth, but I didn't press charges. But it was at that point that I tried to end the relationship and ended up, maybe trying to replace him, but no one was ready to really step up and be the man that he was, which was really a father to my children and someone that I was engaged to. And then 2 months and 5 days later, I started having seizures. And I did all kind of CAT scans. They asked me, had I been in a car accident? I said, no. They said, had you been in an abusive relationship? I said, yes. They said, that's the reason why you're having seizures. So after that, I was literally afraid to be alone because they were happening so frequently. So at this point, with it being 2024, I'm no longer having seizures. I've found the treatment that I need. But at the time, I slipped into depression. I was on medical leave because I was having multiple seizures per day and could not work because I even had one at work. I had to be removed by ambulance from my job because I had one on the job and I was on medical leave. And I know I kind of went all the way deep into it, but this is, the honest truth about what happened. So that was the beginning, and then moving forward all the way till today. I did not get out of the relationship until I was completely fed up. And I want women to know that you don't have to be afraid to let go. You don't have to be afraid because it's not like I didn't love this man. It wasn't like I wasn't comfortable with him. It wasn't like my kids didn't love him. It was really because after I started having the medical issues, I was afraid to be alone. I didn't want to be alone. So I stayed for a little while, but eventually it got tired. I was on eggshells. I was afraid to argue, afraid to bring up why the money didn't add up with his jobs, and um, you know it was so many things happening at once that it may be hard. And you have women that are out there where the man may be the breadwinner. Because when I can tell my story now, they say, Genesis, you was going through all of that and he wasn't even financially, supporting you. And I said, well, I don't even know. Uh, I went through a lot of just giving up. He would show up to my job with flowers. He would show up to my kids' sports events with flowers and gifts. And, nobody knew that behind all of these gifts and, acts of love publicly, what was really going on behind the closed doors. And um, it took a lot for me to just be so tired and disgusted with him. Um, the very last event I can say happened in October of 2019. I think I had a car from Andy Moore that had broke down because I had been letting him drive it. Um, and the warranty, I was over the miles on the warranty because I've been letting him drive the car to the shows, and I was also on the medical leave still, and he's trying to get me to get in the bed with him. And I'm like, I'm not turned on right now. My car is broke down. I don't have money to pay my bills. And you think I'm about to lay up with you like everything is good? And we got into it. He tore up my house. My kids were there, but he told my kids to go. I had a bi-level at the time because I had downsized from my rent to own, and we were fighting. I called the police that day, and on that day, the police made him leave. And on that day, from that day forward, I actually went and got the restraining order, which restraining order processes now are a lot easier than it was back then. Back then, you had to go to the city county building and stand downstairs in the basement and have inmates pass you by and making little comments on you that may be in passing. Now you can do restraining orders online. Um, so I got the restraining order. I kept it, and I eventually moved on. I went through stalking. I went through phone harassments. I went through him speaking about me on live videos, claiming that I was dating one of his brothers, and which honestly, because I was in such a bad financial situation, a lot of people were nice to me and friends to me because I had met him, because he was he was in the entertainment business, should I say, and I met a lot of people through him. So it was just, I was really ashamed and shut down for quite a bit of time. And then, on top of that, it was COVID. COVID happened 2019, 2020. So everything was almost like one thing after another after another. But I did stand on it, and kept the restraining order. Um, it's actually, I can say, up until this last year, there hasn't been harassment, but there's been attempts to get back into my life, stating that, oh, I want to pay you back, or, oh, I want to invest in your business, or let me take you out for a drink, just different ways to try to get back into my life. And I forgive you, but the answer is no. There's no way that I could uh, want to really have anything to do with you after all of my losses and everything that I went through with the individual.
Sense. That makes sense. Did it take you long to forgive him?
Oh, yes. Yeah, it did, because, like I said, I did love him. I was the startup chick, you can put it like that. I was the one that invested poured into his entrepreneurship. And There was things that was left in on my credit because I was the one that had the credit. Um, so the hard part of moving on was me thinking that another one was going to benefit from my work. Um, and like I said, I loved him, and he was father to my kids. So that was hard for them because they were young, and I kept everything private from them. They didn't know what was going on with mom and her ex fiance. He was kind of like the fun guy. He had more friends. We had people coming over to my house, events and things like that. And it was hard to move on. And then when I was fed up and done and trying to move on, it was like he was trying to make himself be relevant still in my life to make me feel like I was missing out on something, but I wasn't missing out on anything.
Now, let me ask you this. So, if I heard you correctly, you didn't have a support system during this time, right?
I actually have a large family. I was born in California, but I grew up here because this is where my family is from. My grandfather was in the Air Force, and so my mom and aunts and uncles and my dad, they're all from Los Angeles. So I got brothers in Los Angeles, but everybody else is here. But I grew up with this stigma of pretending to be perfect. And that kind of came from religiousness. And I'm not talking bad on the church because people do that so very often. And the church is a hospital. It's not perfect. Nobody is perfect. So please don't take that comment and run with it. But I didn't tell people that was here. I didn't tell my mother. I didn't tell my father, stepfather, my uncles. I didn't tell people what was going on until it was over with. I was too ashamed. So it wasn't. I think I told a couple of close friends, and my closest person in my life was really my grandmother, who passed away in December of 2018. And I told her everything. And she used to always call me Genosies. She never made me feel like I was anything other than her first grandchild. And when she was alive, she would always say, you know, I didn't tell her the abusive part, but I told her, I'm having problems with this guy. I don't know what to do. And she would say, well, you don't want to date the whole city. Try to work it out with him. He said he wants to marry you. And so I was trying to stay together. I always believed in staying together. I don't want to be passed around to everybody. So when my grandmother passed, I found, I still got my best friend that I have since I was 11. And I told her a little bit of it, but it was a lot of me keeping things a secret. And so now that I'm past it all, I'll say, you know what? This is what really happened. And I hear people saying, if you would have told me, this guy wouldn't have been still walking around. I've seen this guy and I never liked him. This was some of my family members say, I never liked that guy. But you seemed to be happy. So, I was happy for you being happy. So, I don't want it to, there may be people that actually don't have family who may, be living out of state or not connected with their family at all that may feel the way I feel. But my mistake was trying to pretend that I wasn't hurt or pretend that I didn't need help.
Yeah, and that's common. Like, yeah, and I've seen that question on social media platforms and just in conversation like, well, but why didn't you leave? Why didn't you say something? Why didn't you tell us? And it's just like there's so much at stake because if you tell somebody, one of your people, that this man or whatever, right, is putting their hands on you, what's the
He's gonna be off. I mean, I got people. I was born in Los Angeles, so don't think I don't have an uncle that could come take care of you. You know what I'm saying? But nobody knew um, what I was going through. They just would say I didn't like the guy. And so this is not me saying, I'm involved in nothing because I got I got to make sure I keep things straight.
You know,
But it's not easy to speak about. It's not an easy. It's very touchy. There's people that, like I said, in my situation, I was the breadwinner, and not to say I would date a guy who wasn't financially supporting himself, but if you lose your job or something else, you're going through this difficult time. I was pretty much the breadwinner after that situation happened. So there's women who might be housewives, or maybe he's supporting her beginning a business. He might be the financial support, and so she's like, well, if I do this, then what am I going to have? And I just want to say to that person or that woman, sometimes it's not always the woman who is in a the domestic situation, but you can never. It's not worth living your life that way. You shouldn't. If you believe in God, there's only one. So if you call him uh, whatever you call your father, your belief, you will be okay if you're doing the right thing, and you're sowing good seeds, and there's no way for you to worry about struggling, because you will be okay. I was okay, and I was on medical leave, 40% of my pay. And I think I had, Facebook has its way of reminding you of things. Um, so Facebook reminded me of a picture I had posted, and I was on 46 in posts. And I think I did share this on my page, where they had gave me a fruit basket with money and gifts and everything. And this was probably a month after I ended that relationship, a month after I got him out and all of his stuff out, and finally stood on moving on and not letting him back in, because I really would just give up. I'm like, if you showed up here, and my kids still love you, maybe I should try again. That's kind of where I was. Maybe I should try again. So I often did. That's often, what I did.
well, we have some listeners that have some questions and comments. All right, so Yolanda Campbell says, "Thank you for being vulnerable and sharing your story."
No problem. I hope that it helps someone, because I just was so surprised that uh, there are so many women that have gone through domestic violence, and it's not, like I said, it's not just for the women. There might be men who are in these relationships, and the woman will slap all on them and tear up the house, and she knows if he hits him, he's going to jail.
Absolutely.
So it's either way, it's wrong. Either way, that's not right. So I don't want to exclude the men, but I was raised with a stepfather in the house, and I used to fly to California to see my father. And I was raised not to hit a man. I was told that the man is stronger than you, and because I have positive male role models in my life, it's not like I would go into anything disrespecting a man, or anything that you would think, because I see things that trigger me today. That's kind of why I have to take breaks from social media, part of the reason why. And you'll see women saying, women or men, that are saying, well, she shouldn't have been talking to him like that, and he wouldn't put his hands on her. Since when do words give you the right to put your hands on a person? If you're so weak minded, then you need to step away from that situation. Uh,
Absolutely.
yeah, that's kind of what it needs to be. You need to step away, and because nobody is putting a gun to your head and say you need to defend yourself physically because somebody hurt you verbally.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that is such a common, well, she shouldn't have said nothing or whatever. And it's just like, okay, so, but then on in another breath, the person would say, nobody can't make me do ish or can't make me do nothing but my words. You feel me? Is that powerful? Where you gotta resort to, you know? I mean,
Yeah.
I know of someone who was literally, she lost her life. And his excuse was, oh, well, because she just wouldn't be quiet. She just kept talking. And he took her life. He
Yeah.
took
It's terrible.
her life. And it's just like, okay, so where's the discipline? Because it's a choice. You
Yeah.
raising your voice, you decide to put your hands on somebody, that is a choice. You have
Hmm.
free will, and there is a certain amount of time that you have to make that choice. Can't nobody make you do nothing. Can't nobody make you do nothing. Now, if somebody has a gun to your head, maybe.
Yeah.
But like you said, I mean, like you, I was taught never to put myself in a man's place. So I mean, come on now, like let's keep it real. Just be honest that you got some deep psychological stuff where you like to put your hands on people. And
Yeah.
again, I like what you said about, we are not trying to exclude um the men. Because there is
Mhm.
somebody that I cannot wait to get him on my show. He was actually a victim of domestic violence. Okay. He is a man and it's not really spoken about, right? So we just want to put that out there. So let's go back into this. So Yolanda says financial abuse is real.
Mhm.
Absolutely, it's real, right?
Yeah. Because I was, like I said, I was the ride or die chick. I invested in the startup and all of that and did get my cut, but my Lord has blessed me. Anything that I have given to somebody else, I believe it came back to me. So I think the most important part about my story is that it didn't break me and it didn't change who I am. Because there was definitely some lies that occurred about why the check didn't come or why this or why that. That definitely occurred. So I'm stressing about money. I'm fussing. I'm nagging. There's even scriptures about you'd rather be in a poor with a woman who's good to you than rich with a woman who's nagging. I was nagging because where is this money at? We're engaged. We're living together. So there was, when I have this car payment that I'm paying on time, and it breaks down, and my warranty is not covering it because it's over the mileage. Well, it's your fault that the mileage is over. It's your fault that this happened. So where's my money? And so I was like I said, there's been a couple of attempts back into my life promising to pay back this money. But it's been this many years later since the relationship, and I honestly said this last year: you haven't paid me one red cent, and I don't want nothing from you. Don't reach out to me ever again. The forgiveness is for me to let you know that I've moved forward, and I can't hold this because when you're holding a grudge against someone, it's not hurting them. They're more than likely gone on with their life, or they may be mad at themselves or kicking themselves for letting you get away, but it's a good chance that they're not. And so you have to learn how to forgive because it's only hurting you. It's going to cause you the high blood pressure. It's going to cause you the health issues going forward with your life if you're holding on to something that is not, it's no longer going to benefit you.
Very true. So Tammy says, thank you for sharing. And Tonality Records, Genesis, I salute you for your bravery to tell your testimony. May God's favor chase you forever.
Thank you. Thank you.
Someone, oh, Yolanda says, that was always a weird request. After he hit me, he wanted to have sex later.
Yeah, he did. That night that the police came to my house, and I didn't tell the police that he was there. I'm laying in the bed and I'm crying and I'm disgusted, and he forced himself on me because of course I'm not into this, and it was a disgusting feeling. Um, and so I did. I know exactly what you're talking about, and there's I have pamphlets. I took so many different pamphlets from um, the signs of abuse. I got all these different pamphlets because I'm no longer in of course, I'm no longer in that relationship. It's been 5 years since I've been in that relationship. And I don't believe that my life restarted. I believe that my life restarted after being in that relationship. So there's signs, and I think I posted this probably back in November, because I went to this rally in October. Um, let's see. I'm going to read this. There are signs of abuse. So I'll just go down and read it because we got a little time. So jealousy, possessive, jealous of anyone or anything which you spend time. I definitely remember that. He didn't like me doing anything, but he got to do everything. So controlling behavior, demanding you account for every minute, permission or get permission to do things, maintain dominance by keeping you in a traditional role, quick involvement, moving into commitment before you have a chance to figure out their abusive behavior. Definitely don't want to move too fast with anyone. Definitely check that my case. Definitely check that offender registry. It's things have changed to where you can't pull up the police records, but that my case don't lie. Um, Unrealistic expectations, expecting you to read their mind, know what they want, constantly changing their demands, isolation, keeping you from seeing or talking to friends and family, picking fights with your loved ones, demanding you choose between your friends, family, and them, blaming others for problems and feeling, hypersensitivity, abuser is easily insulted, paranoid, or thinks that everyone is out to get him. So definitely remember that. Somebody making you feel like that you've hurt their feelings and you weren't, that wasn't your intention. They won't even accept your apologies. Verbal abuse, calls you names, puts you down, devalues you or anything you do or anything that's important to you. Threats of violence or intimidation, where they're threatening to harm you or a loved one. Breaking objects, striking objects, using any force in argument, punching the wall, throwing things, anything. Unpredictable mood swings, insensitive, unwanted force during sex, not respecting your right to say no to sexual activity, and a history of battering other partners. So they may have a criminal history. And um, there's so many things. I'm gonna post this again. But if you feel like it says if you feel like you're walking on eggshells around your partner, find yourself being the person in the relationship taking majority of the blame if anything goes wrong, finding yourself constantly and carefully selecting your words around your partner so you avoid triggering a reaction. You're giving up your interests, activities, and people that were once important to you, and you constantly excusing your partner's behavior to yourself and others, and feeling like you've completely lost your self-esteem and sense of self. That's the questions. Do you feel like you've lost your self-esteem and sense of self? Because it's 2024. I can talk about my 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018. I can talk about that now. I was making a fool of myself, maybe even on social media, questioning women about the man that I was with. I was still in my 20s. So, um, and yeah, I made a fool of myself, honestly. And nowadays I'm like, I would never do that. I would never question a woman about the man because he's the one I have the relationship with. But I was being cheated on. Um, I did feel very insecure. He told me I was insecure, but the truth about it is that the feeling that I was, what I was going through on the inside was me knowing that something wasn't right. I wasn't able to put my finger on it, but I knew something wasn't right. And don't ever feel like if you feel like you're losing your self-esteem or you're losing yourself, um, because of my health issues, I did stop going to school. Um, and it wasn't until I got out of the relationship where I found my purpose, which was to do home care. When I lost my grandmother, it was because she didn't have a home health aide there with her when she passed away. And that's where I found my purpose, which was to help people. if you remember in high school when they have you take those assessments to see what you would be good at, um, it was teacher, counselor, librarian. I had those type of things come up in my assessment, but I was lost. I was lost in the relationship. I wasn't around my family. I have this great, big, old, wonderful family, and I wasn't talking to them. Uh, I wasn't making time with my female friends. I wasn't doing anything but worrying about this guy. And so I felt like I was allowing him to consume me. And even though I have a faith and a belief, because I was raised that way, and because I know that, God has always had his hand on me, it's hard to gain all of that back once you have it's honestly can happen. It's hard to once you realize it, and then I can go back and say, oh my goodness, who was I? Where was I? What was happening to me? Who was it's like you have to go back and find yourself once you realize that you've been lost to a person or a thing, um, or a lifestyle or a relationship. It's not it's not easy at all. So I will say that.
So I see some people saying hello. Hi, Dwayne. Hi, Mr. Purvine. Hey, Brandy. All right. So it looks like here we go. Tonality Records. Do you feel that having a soul tie with your ex had any bearing on the ability to move on despite the abuse? Hmm.
Um, I definitely believe soul ties are real. And I also believe prayer is even realer than that, because you can break those chains. You can detox your mind, your body, your spirit. Um, I know there was a soul tie because there was part of me that still wanted what I was used to. That's that comfort zone. That's because I've had somebody coming and getting in the bed with me for the last however many years. That was mine. Almost like that song where you listen to it, we was grooving to that. He's mine. You might have had him once, but I got him all the time. We was grooving to that. If you listen to those lyrics, it's nothing proud about being the main chick. This man is not faithful to you.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have any connection, any soul tie to my ex at this time. But when you're first getting out of it, you're gonna still want that. You're gonna still feel and be. You might even still be weak to that person. He might still be able to weasel his way back in, but if you can make it, if you can be strong, if you can build yourself up and surround yourself with people who got your back, or who was praying for you, or you know even to occupy yourself. I began doing bounce class, and taking more time into my personal health, which I had to, because I wasn't going to let my illness keep me bound. um, so I worked out, I wrote, I did poetry, I even sang, but y'all, I'm not that good of a singer.
Yeah,
I was
everybody did that.
singing. I really would. And then when I went back and listened to myself singing, I was like, "Ooh, I'm so glad that nobody else saw this." Uh, because it's a tone that I have, but I try to mimic these songs, and that's not my actual tone. But I love the song, and so I'm not really a singer, but I did get through a lot by writing, and I have this book here, and I go back to, I think, several years, because I don't write in it every day. But this is it's called My Memory Stones. It's reflections of gratitude to God. And I would just, every day it tells you to write something that you're grateful for. One day it says create a list of activities you enjoy. At the end of the list, thank the Lord for your ability to enjoy them. So You definitely can still have a connection with your ex. You can, because I just seen my ex in 2023, and I was like, if you don't get away from me because you ain't got my money, and I don't know why you think that I want anything. We ran into each other but you have the power. You have to know that you have the power, because the power of God is stronger than anything that's of this world. There's nothing stronger. And I'm not preaching because I don't have that title, but I can tell you that there's nothing that can't be broken. There's nothing that can't be broken. So just know that.
Amen. Okay, let's see here. So Yolanda says that's powerful. Forgiveness is key to healing. Definitely.
Yeah. Because
Brand,
we ourselves have to be forgiven. We
absolutely.
do things. We do things. You might have cut somebody out on the road today. You might have. You don't know what they were going through. They might have been trying to get to their kids for the daycare closed, or they might have had a bad day at work. And you don't want to. What my thing was, I didn't want the last thing that I said or the last thing that I did at the end of any day to be something terrible. And so often, well, at least at this point in my life, um, I feel conviction. I feel convicted about something if I do something, and I often try to correct myself, because I'm not the type that's going to sleep well if I do somebody wrong.
Hmm.
I'm just that's just me. Some people is walking around here, and you're gonna meet your maker one day. What goes around comes around. I mean, it's just you sow good seeds, you're gonna get good. You sow bad seeds, you're gonna get bad. But the forgiveness is for you to let go. It's for you. It's not for that other person.
That's the truth. That's the truth.
Yeah.
So Brandy says I suffered mental, emotional, sexual, and physical abuse from my ex as well.
Mm.
I'm sorry that you.
Yeah. And just know that you realize it and recognize it. You're a survivor, and I hope you're not in that situation anymore. Um, but just becoming aware of it, having the confidence or the ability to speak about it. You should know that you deserve more than that. That's not what you're calling. That's not how your life is meant. We weren't brought here to go through those things. Those are setbacks. Those are to take us off course, because you can lose years of your life dealing with people like that. It's people that really have no agenda besides to set you back. And I hope you made it out of that. And I hope that you're healed and that you continue to work on your healing, because it's a daily thing to heal from that. And congratulations if it's over, and if it's not, I'll just be praying that you continue to get better.
Says my case is a great resource. It is.
Yeah.
Listen, I got that saved as my favorite. So look, if we talking or whatever, I didn't look you up on my case.
My case, it looked like I said back then, before they made some changes, you used to be able to pull up the police reports. So it didn't matter if you got robbed, if you got into a car accident, if somebody called the police, didn't press charges. You used to be able to see that. Now they made some changes coming into the 2020s, to where you don't get to get a police report unless you pay for it. But that my case will stick to you. That my case will. So um, I actually did file a lawsuit against my ex,
Okay.
and I had filed for defamation of character, and for the loss of my car, and for the monies. But at the time, I was still going through my seizures, and I didn't go through with it. And one thing I can tell you, if you see on the news, or not the news, you see on this social media, these people are going back 10, 12, 20 years and saying this person raped me. And I'm like, well, what is the statute of limitations on domestic violence and rape? Because these people are going back years and years and getting money. At this point in my life, even though my ex has said that he said just within this last year that he was going to pay me back, which would renew my statute of limitations, I don't want anything from him. I'm happy for whatever his endeavors are. Just leave me alone. Only my only request was for him to leave me alone.
That's
But I've tried to close the case and seal it to where our names are any associated anymore, so that it won't even come up. But I don't think they're letting me do it.
hmm.
But you can. It's not hard to do. If you got $129, and depending on what township you're in, the small claims court is definitely. If you keep your records, uh, you might be able to get some of your money back. But it's also a point where you got to realize that people may be fronting and flaunting a lifestyle that they really don't have. You may see this person with $101 bills on here, and I'm like, why you got all this money? But they all $1 bills, and probably because you don't have a bank account.
Mm.
Is it really worth your time and energy to go back and try to sue a person, to get back your money? It's for me, it no longer was. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. If you just move on, you're going to get your blessings back. You're going to get back every good thing you've done, every investment, everything you've done good. You're going to get it back. So one way, shape, or form, you're going to get it back. You're going to be taken care of.
I believe that. Like I believe that I believe in God too. And I believe that he is one of restoration, right? He can give all that back, right? If you take that movement into that direction, he can give it all back and more, right?
Yeah.
Everything, all the love you put out, all that. And my daddy used to tell me that too. All the love you put out, don't feel no type of way about how you love this person and they didn't give it back to you or they did this, whatever, because it will all come back. It'll find you. And I believe
Yeah. So never get weary. It says don't get weary in your good doing. Don't I don't know the exact scripture, but I know it says that. I said don't it says don't get weary in doing good. Because
that's right.
you will get your harvest. And this it's the springtime. That's usually something that they say around the fall. If you're thinking about it. But I will honestly say that in my process of healing, I might be jumping forward or back,
Oh
but in
yeah.
my process of healing, um, I did see Jessica Gordon,
Mhm.
who's a hypnotherapist. She now accepts insurance, and I think she's moved. I don't know if she's left here and gone to Atlanta or not, but I actually did go through a hypnotherapy session right after the movie Get Out came out.
Okay.
So that was I did, and what she did with me was connect me with the inner child, and it wasn't anything where I felt like it was, going to interfere with my spiritual beliefs, but I felt like the hypnotherapy, because I also went to a psychiatrist as well. The psychiatrist, labeled me as depressed. Which I'm like, okay, well, I had to step back because the antidepressants they were just prescribing me interfere with my neurology medicine. I could barely stay asleep I barely stay awake during the day. I was stumbling over my words. It was too much. So I didn't want to take the antidepressants. I also didn't want to become uh, dependent on the antidepressants. So I stopped taking the medicine. I still took my neurology medicine, but I stopped taking the medicine and I said, I want to heal my inner child. Because a lot of our issues that we have, even the abuser may have, stemmed from their childhood. Um, if you go and I'm gonna get back to that in a second. So I remember bits and pieces of it, but I remember her. Uh, I remember the session, and I saw my younger self, and I hugged that little girl, and I loved that little girl, and I said to that little girl that it's okay, it's not your fault. I forgive you. I forgive myself for not treating you the way you deserve to be treated. And, some people may think, oh, you're tripping or whatever. Um, but that's what got me through. And that might not be the route that you need to take. But we're in Indiana. Some people may not be in Indiana, but Indiana is a state that has health care. Whether you got no income up to 50,000, you can get Medicaid, and then other people can have it through their employer. So it's available for you to go see a psychiatrist, whether you decide to take the medications they prescribe you for being depressed or not. It's nothing wrong with having that person to talk to. It's not everybody goes to church. That's fine. Not everybody has a person that they want to talk to. That's fine. But somebody who's unbiased and that can listen to your problems, it may be what you need. It definitely may be what you need.
Let's see here. We have some more comments. Brandy says, you wasn't aware of the mental state that had been brought about dealing with the individual that you were with. Definitely not inhuman, because you were in fear of what he may have done because of the things he has done. She goes further to say, it's not easy, but you stood on it all, and a terrific live testimony for others.
Yeah. Um, and this isn't to you know uh, excuse the behavior of the abuser, but I can say that he did not have a good relationship with his mother. Um, I can say that almost like the Tina Turner movie, if you watch it, and he's like, everybody hurt me in my life, don't you hurt me. I told one of my friends, like, you got to watch Boomerang. I said, watch Boomerang and just don't get reeled in to a relationship or with anybody for feeling sorry for them. It's not your job to heal that person. You don't have to give leniency to a person because of their past experiences. You didn't cause that past pain and that past hurt. So even though you may be a caregiver, a person that, I think they say, what is the word called? When you feel people's emotion, empath. Is that what it's called?
An empath.
Yeah. Okay. If you're one of those people, I'm one of those people,
I
and
am.
so I'm ultimately going to care, no matter what the situation is. I'm ultimately going to want to make things better. Um, Not to say there's anything wrong with you that you need to change that, but it's not your job to fix that person. It's not your job to make up for what that person is lacking in their life. So you have to still be you, but set a boundary to where you don't feel like you have to forgive this person or do certain things to not to hurt a person that's really already hurt. Because as it said plenty of times before, hurt people. And they're going to hurt you too, no matter how good you are, no matter how great you are. What they do to you is ultimately a reflection of themselves and not you.
That's real. So Derek says, salute for getting out and getting it out. I want to ask, have you seen any long-term impacts on the kids?
Um, yes, because it is a ripple effect. Um, I had to be honest with my children because they were still maybe single digits going into double digits when I ended that relationship. So they didn't know what was going on. They just heard us arguing. They didn't know I was being hit. They just knew they seen flowers, they seen edible arrangements, they seen the ring on my finger. They didn't know. So I had to say, um, this is why the relationship ended. And so I had to adjust to being a single parent again after being divorced. Um, and um, the impact, I kept my kids, I always made sure my kids had therapy. Uh, what a lot of people may not know is that any school district that you're in, I don't know about IPS, but any other school district should have school based therapists And if your child may be showing signs of acting out or misbehaving, it may be some things that they need to talk about or that they're hurting about. And I know that my children missed having my ex because, like I said, he was more of a father than their fathers were. Um, but I know that it wasn't my domestic violence wasn't like I'm getting punched and kicked and like some of the things you may see from a Tyler Perry movie. I wasn't that woman, and so not to say that that doesn't happen or it's either less or more, but your unhappiness can have a ripple effect on more than just you. Because while I'm unhappy and I'm miserable and I'm crying, what am I giving to my kids? How can I give my kids what they need if I'm miserable? Yeah, I can't. So uh, it took away from them as well to have to be with me while I was going through health issues, while I was going through depression, while I was trying to find myself, who I was, build my self esteem back up, find my passion, everything, everything. So it does affect your kids, and then you may have kids who actually have seen it. Those kids who, I mean, think about the boy last year who came in there and shot the guy who was beating on his mom or punching his mom in the store. You know, maybe that boy who had seen his mom, be punched on, or maybe he had seen it before then too. That is definitely going to impact your children. It's definitely going to impact them. So family therapy, it is necessary. Um, when you go in and you got these kids that are going into their teenage years and they get to feeling themselves. We're in a whole different generation of electronics. We didn't even have, we had to listen to dial up. And most of us had to listen to dial up to connect to the internet. Well, these kids just got it in their hand, and they're being influenced by social media. They're being influenced by peers who are, it's just it's a whole different ball game for these kids, and the mental health of your children is definitely going to be affected if you can try to hide it all you want to, but it's definitely something that you're going to have to work on. It's going to have to be a complete work to repair what you've lost during the time.
Let me ask you this, Genesis. So as far as relationships now, since you've had these experiences, how has your approach to relationships changed? Like,
I can say that I'm pretty sure that with most people, you gain wisdom with years. So I'm a lot more wise. The person that I was with then could never approach me now. I'm a completely different woman. So you wouldn't be able to date me that way. You wouldn't be able to show me those red flags, and I would, continue to date you. Um, but uh, I was dating someone um just this past year who things were going pretty well. I mean, he was pretty much doing almost everything I like, and it was almost like but we had got into a dispute about something, and he raised his voice at me, and we were going to have a dinner at Daniel's Vineyard, uh, which is a lovely place. You should take your lady, or you should go there if you haven't been there yet. So over dinner, I said, if you raise your voice at me or talk to me like that, I'm not comfortable with that. You know what I have been through. I've told you what I've been through, and I'm not comfortable with that. And so if this happens again, I'm not going to be able to do it. So I'm not just going to say I don't like you off of one mistake. I'm going to communicate with you and give you a chance. And then if you don't, if I see that happen again, and it's definitely going to be triggering to me, especially if it's something like, I feel like something that some type of anger came out of nowhere. I'm going to think you have anger problems. That's just so you're my experiences have led me to be more wise. Um, my experiences has led me to not wear my heart on my sleeve, and I haven't changed as a person, my values and how I would treat my man or somebody that I love and I care about. But it's taught me not to be so vulnerable, because I have shared my experiences about my past and my hurt and my pain and my desires with people maybe too early. And one thing I can say is that these if you guys are transitioning, this is aside from domestic violence, if you're transitioning from relationship to relationship, you have no business wasting a woman's time. If you got a baby on the way, if you're still living with somebody trying to move out, if you're going through a divorce, you have no business trying to date somebody who is completely available.
Mhm.
That's It's totally disrespectful to that person and to who, because I'm not the type, I don't know how to serial date. I'm going to mix up who I went out to dinner with last week. It's just gonna happen. I'm gonna say, you remember, I really like that restaurant, and I'm gonna be like, you're gonna be like, that wasn't me, and I'll be like, but it's teaching me wisdom. It's taught me so much wisdom, and I don't regret any of my experiences, because without my experiences, I wouldn't be who I am today and where I am today. It took me every little detail of my life to get me right here. So, and it's always, it may have been a setback, it may have took me another direction, but in the end, I'm gonna know why, because my end is gonna be greater.
That's right. That's right. Ooh, look at the time. We are. Woo, this time went right.
Yeah,
um,
it's already 9 o'clock.
I know, like man, time go. Um, I do want to ask you because, as far as the support system, right? Like, say, what would your advice be to someone or people that are a support to someone, male or female, going through domestic violence? Like, how can they support that person better? Because that could be a slippery slope in itself, right?
Yeah, it can definitely be a slippery slope. So what I would say is, to make first of all, nobody likes to feel judged, and no one wants to be talked down on. So nobody wants to hear "I told you so." Nobody wants to hear, just let them have a comfort zone. Don't, look down on them or point the finger. Let them know that you have their back regardless of their choice. Because oftentimes, I can't remember, but I may have had somebody tell me, your dude doing this, and this, and I didn't want to hear that, because I was head over heels for him. And a little after I posted those flyers that I was reading off here about domestic violence and what are the signs, someone told me that they have gone through everything on that list that I had mentioned, and they didn't know how they got there. And they just feel so stupid and they felt so dumb. And I let her know that, just the fact that you're talking about it, that I was proud of her, and that the fact that she is aware of what happened, acknowledging it is a big step, because some people don't know. Like I said, I didn't think I was in domestic violence when we were arguing, when I would not be able to finish my sentences because we're arguing about something that I said that had a comma behind it and I couldn't finish my sentence. I didn't think that it was toxic at the time. I didn't know any better. I had never seen that growing up. So it wasn't like I grew up seeing it. I didn't know that that was a bad relationship. So those that are supporting those, just let them know that you have their back. That's the most important thing. And Um, it's the support and the love, and I'm here for you. This is what I can do to help. What do you need me to do? Do you need me to help you do this? Do you need to find another place to stay? Do you need me to take the kids, or if they have kids together, you need me to take the kids while you're doing this? Is there anything I can do to help? And that's honestly the most you can do, because it wasn't until I got tired, because I didn't get broken up with. I it wasn't until I was tired and I put my foot down that I actually ended the relationship. So a lot of times that person is not going to be ready to let it go. A lot of times the person is going to hope that that person change. A lot of times they're going to want their investment back. Like, I've helped this person do this, this, and this. I want my money back, or I want to be the one that's there when they reach this level.
Yeah.
You got to be ready to let it go. Just speak words of encouragement. Just let that person know that you love them and you support them and they're not alone. Because I had somebody crying on my shoulder, that I had no idea was going through that, going through domestic violence. And I just let her know that it's okay. And I let her know, the steps that she could take to get that person out of her life. And this was a person that I know personally. This is outside of the volunteering that I do.
All right. So, any last words of wisdom you want to leave our listeners before I get into the whole spiel? Because I got to get the spiel out there.
Oh, yeah. So I love this lady that's from it's called DVN, the Domestic Violence Network. I met her in person. Like I said, I went out there to get free gas, and I found out what the event really was about. So I met the person that was over the whole thing. There are, we have Google now. We don't have to use a phone book. Look this stuff up. The Domestic Violence Network. They do so much. Firefly, the Salvation Army. Even if you can't give your time, they have wish list items for women that may have just decided to get up and go and take her kids. There's a DVN, the Domestic Violence Network, community-wide plan. If you attend their meetings, you can earn like $50 per meeting. So if don't donate plasma, do something else. So, but there are, I can put it in the comments, because let's see, maybe I'll just shout these numbers out real quick. Firefly is 317-689-8919. And the Domestic Violence Network, of course, you got 911. Not everybody want to deal with the police, but there are so many. I want to get the direct number to the DVN network. They're saying 911. I want to give the right number. Okay, so they have the mental health hotline. Whether you're going through domestic violence or not, your mental health it's not worth losing your mental health over a relationship. So they have a mental health hotline, which is 988 instead of 911. The Julian Center is 317-920-9320. They have Indiana Legal Services, 317-631-9410. If you want to do a restraining order, they can be done online now, and you only have to go to court if the person disputes it. So that's a lot easier than what I had to do when I had to do the restraining order. I had to go downtown and file it, which it was no privacy. It was embarrassing. But now things are easier. Almost everything is online. So this final one that I like, because it's easy to become a volunteer. What I do for the community is I do 4 days a month. I'm on call. I'm sorry, I take calls and I'm just giving a voice. I'm letting people speak to me. So this one place is called Sheltering Wings. They're open 24 hours, 365 days a year, and their number is 317-745-1496. All of these different networks, Firefly, the Violence Networks, Domestic Violence Network, the Brightwood Community Council, all these places, they have options for you to volunteer. And just don't give up. Don't give back in. Don't do what I did, which is like giving up. Doesn't matter if they stalk you. You may have to go off of social media for a while. Don't be ready to post whoever you're dating or where you're at. Don't be checking in all the time. Um, just don't settle. Don't settle, and then don't feel like you need to rush into another relationship just because you're lonely. You're not going to find yourself in another individual, in another relationship. You're going to find yourself by finding yourself single. You're going to find yourself and build yourself by doing that alone. You can't find your validation in another individual. You got to find it in yourself. So my final words would be, that you're not alone. My final words would be that it's okay, and that, somebody loves you. I don't know what everybody doesn't have the same faith and belief as me, but just know that you are never alone, and you're never dumb or you're never wrong, and it's never anything to be ashamed of, because I went in a whole pageant. The pageant I went in, I went to Miss Essence Elite. I didn't. It wasn't about me winning the pageant. It was about me feeling beautiful for the first time in a very long time. And I didn't feel beautiful after being in domestic. I didn't feel beautiful after being cheated on, after being lied to, after being humiliated and stalked and talked about. I didn't feel beautiful after doing shameful things and arguing with women on social media who my man was cheating with. It wasn't a good time. I had to build myself back up. So don't be ashamed to ask for help. And it don't have to be on social media. You still got the option for the psychiatrist. You still got the option for your your supports, like maybe in your church or your community. Um, and not everybody goes to church. I understand. Find someone, and just don't be afraid to move on. Let it all go, and your reward is going to be so much greater in the end.
Right. Thank you so much, Genesis. I appreciate you and your strength, your bravery. Just God bless you. Thank you. Um,
And
shout
I'm
out to
doing good. I'm sorry. I'm doing good. Okay. So I'm not having, just let y'all know, I'm not having no seizures. I found out how to take care of myself. I found out how to do what I needed to do for me to be healthy. So mental health, physical health, good health, it's all real. Take care of yourself. Find yourself, and you will be so much better in the end. So I'm sorry to cut you off. I just
no,
had to
no,
add that in there.
good. No, no, no. It's wherever that spirit leads. That's why I tell my guests, wherever the spirit leads, that's what we gonna do. You feel me?
Yeah.
Like because I believe that your story is definitely gonna resonate. It's gonna help people, and you didn't go through that. We don't go through stuff for no reason. It's a reason behind it, and just like I said, the strength that you have exhibited. Thank you, thank
Thank
you.
you for having me. Thank you for having me.
So let's see here, y'all. So thanks to everybody that's listening. Hold on, let me shout out my mama because she gonna probably be like, "Did you shout me out, mommy? Thank you for listening." Let's see here. I know Aunt Anna. Everybody listening. Shout out to everybody that was watching with me. I see George, Brandy, Lenora, Yolanda, Gregory, like Marie. So many people are listening. We love you. Thank you so much for listening.
Yes. Thank you for showing. Thank you for
And
coming out.
absolutely. And tune into all the shows. Make sure that you liking, you following us on Facebook. It's Relationship Soup Group. Come and join the group. Come and talk about it, right? On YouTube, it's Relationship Soup. Period. Put the period on there. And then yeah, so just join the conversations. And if you have any topics that you want to talk about, hit us up. Inbox me, whatever. And really be inboxing me about the show, not no other stuff. Okay. Inbox me about some ideas. All right. Uh and I want to end with Tonality actually put Jeremiah 29:11. And when you were speaking earlier and we were talking about, God and stuff, you know, that actually came into my head. So look, Maurice, we got ESPN or ESP, whatever they say. So Jeremiah 29:11 is one I want to leave with. So be sure to join us next time. I love you all. Thank you for listening. Continue to keep loving yourself and enjoy the rest of this week. It's hump day. Enjoy the rest of your week. All right. We love
Yeah,
you.
Super Bowl's coming up. Y'all better stay safe out here.
Oh, what? Okay, so listen. Listen. I know that sounded real like confident. Who is playing the Super Bowl? Like I don't even know who playing. But I know All Star Weekend and all that stuff is coming up. All Star and Super Bowl. Who's playing? I ain't trying to be weird. Look,
Kansas and the 49ers. And I mean, I don't know. I don't feel no kind of way about either one of them, honestly. So forgive me. Nobody better not jump me or talk about me, but it is what it is.
listen. Hey,
I
I
just like a good game. I just like a good game, And I pay attention to football a lot better than basketball, because I can see the replays.
hey, listen. I just know this in football. I think that this
Woo, it's good.
that's good, right? I'll be like, yeah. All right, y'all. So we out. Genesis, stay after because I got some stuff for you. We love y'all. Peace.